Hey, what's up? Ian here once again, and this week I am once again classifying 3 games based on genre, but I'll also be analyzing their elements of time, space, and narrative. The 3 games I will be talking about this week are Passage, Viento Latte, and the minigames from GTA 4 and Fable 2. I'll start with Passage, which is a short indie game from developer Jason Rohrer. In Passage, you are thrust into the shoes of this young, blonde, pixelated dude who seemingly has no objective other than to just keep moving right. Early in the game, you'll have the opportunity to take a wife who will follow you on your journey to nowhere, or you can skip the wife and go it alone. I mean, she just gets in the way anyway. But eventually, after wandering around the world opening boxes, your character will just eventually drop dead, and the game ends. And if you took a wife, she'll die shortly before you. That's pretty much all there is to it. In terms of space, Passage occupies spatial structure number 5 in Mark Wolf's The Medium of the Video Game. Because it's from a top-down perspective, you can move up, right, left, and down, and the screen scrolls along with the player's movements. Time is a key element to the game. In fact, it's pretty much all there is to the game, I'd say. Your character visibly ages as you move through the game until he's a feeble old man, and then he just dies of old age. As for narrative, if I had to take a stab at it, I would say the narrative of the game is life. You're basically following this man around as he goes through life. He falls in love, or doesn't, and ages with time like we all do, and eventually he just dies one way or the other. Thus, I would classify Passage as a simulation game. More specifically, it's a life simulator. No matter what path you take in the game, no matter whether or not you decide to take a wife, your character just ends up dead eventually regardless. Just like in life, no matter what we do, we're all going to end up in the ground anyway. Which seems to be the point of the game, the way I see it. Next up, I'm going to talk about Viento Latte, which is a French language game from Belgian developer Tale of Tales. You can play the game in English subtitles, but that won't necessarily help you make much more sense of it. I haven't actually played the full game, but I've played parts of it, and I've watched videos, so I'll do my best to explain to you all what the game's all about. For the first part of the game, after choosing either play as a man or a woman, you're on a beach, and you can just walk around and explore the beach, picking up chess pieces, which you'll use in the second part. And you'll also randomly encounter out-of-context phrases from a French novel, which you'll also use in the second part. And the second part basically begins when you enter a building. You sit down in front of a chessboard and basically play a game of chess against either the computer or another online player. Only it doesn't seem to follow the rules of chess at all. Like, the only pieces you get are the ones you pick up on the beach in the first part of the game, however many and few that is, and you can seemingly put them anywhere on the board, no matter what type they are. Also, knocking over your opponent's pieces doesn't seem to have any real effect. If you put your chess pieces on like certain squares, your character will utter one of the phrases they encountered on the beach earlier to the other person. Now, it seems like the object of this part, if there is one, is to romance the other player, who is of the opposite gender. But the conversations you have with these chopped up lines for a French novel, they don't seem to go anywhere. You can also use your turn to drag on a cigarette or take a sip of wine, but that doesn't seem to have any effect on the game either. There just doesn't seem to be any way to win or lose. I have a hard time really classifying Viento Latte as a game at all. I mean, the game has like no objective, which it flat out tells you when you before you start playing, and there are no clear rules or system of feedback. In terms of space, the beach part of the game occupies spatial structure number 10 in Mark Wolf's meme of the video game, which is fully interactive 3D environment. And the chess part of the game occupies spatial structure number 2, which is one screen contained. There doesn't seem to be any time element in the game whatsoever. It seems to be set in sort of a surreal, dreamlike environment where the concept of time doesn't seem to exist. And for narrative, there isn't really one given for that either. You're pretty much, I don't know, it's pretty much up to you. So, I have a hard time classifying Viento Latte by genre because it doesn't comfortably fall into any of the genre categories outlined by Mark Wolf. The closest ones I can find are either a simulation or utility. But it's not really a simulation because it doesn't simulate like any real life activity or concept. And it's not really a utility because I'm not really sure what its purpose is other than entertainment. So I guess Viento Latte isn't really a game after all. Alright, finally I'm going to talk about the mini-games of GTA 4 and Fable 2. In GTA 4, you have the opportunity to partake in activities like pool, darts, and bowling with your virtual friends. And in Fable 2, you can take jobs like woodcutting, bartending, or blacksmithing to earn extra coin. I would classify these minigames as adaptation because they adapt real-life activities and jobs into the virtual realm. In terms of space, the minigames in Fable 2 occupy spatial structure number 2 because all the action is contained in a single shot. And for GTA 4, that one's a little tricky because like it takes place in 3D environment, but you can't really freely move around and interact with things while you're playing the minigames. So I guess I'd say it contains elements of spatial structures 10 and 6 because as I said earlier, you can't really freely move around the environment while playing the game, and the game does cut to like adjacent angles and frames whenever appropriate to the action. As for time, both GTA 4 and Fable 2 take place in real time, and time continues to move forward even as you're playing the minigames. Like, this effect is especially evident when you're playing an outdoor minigame in Fable 2. Like, if you chop wood for a really long time, you'll see night become day, and vice versa. Also, in both games, you'll see characters move around in the background, completely independent of the people involved in the minigame, showing you that time is continuing to move forward, whether or not you're actively, engaging the world. As for narrative, the minigames in both games aren't really like a direct part of like the main plot, but they are part of your character's like personal arc. Like in GTA 4, you'll get calls from your friends in the game asking if you want to go participate in activity, and participating with them strengthens your bond with your virtual compadres. And in Fable 2, you have the opportunity to take jobs, to earn more money, increase your character's personal wealth, and having money just allows you to proceed through the game and live your virtual life, which is a huge aspect of Fable. Okay, that's enough for this week's video. Until next time.